All right, so this time I am just not going to move, not going to flinch, not going to do anything in hopes that this... Apparently I'm going to have to do a little bit more research into what makes this thing actually tick. There's no kind of manual adjustment for it or whatever else, so I'm just going to try not to move and hope it doesn't freak out. All right, we'll let everybody kind of filter back in here. This is a good reason to turn your notifications on. So if you have the notification bell, I will delete that other one.
2020 vision again.
Yep. Look out. It's amazing. It's great technology. I don't want to... Hey, Me Styles, chill. You're okay, Me Styles. I know, baby. What are you doing? There we go. There's the delete upload button so nobody sees that. All right. So once again, this is important for whenever we have technical issues like this. If you down, there should be a little bell by the subscribe button or where the subscribe button used to be since you're now subscribed, where it's on the bottom right corner. If you go down there and you click the notification bell, it will actually alert you. Yeah, Jurassic Park training, don't move. Exactly. Angel, I need a Jurassic Park mug now. But if you click the notification bell, if we do have hiccups like this, it'll automatically alert you. It'll send you a notification whenever I post a new video, whenever we go live, whenever we do anything happens on the channel. So be sure to hit the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever technology doesn't work and we have problems again. So yeah, this thing really likes autofocusing a whole bunch.
Yeah, it does.
It's probably my face. Because when the pale ginger face gets up and walks off, then it just freaks out and doesn't know what to do.
If I take the hat off, it'll go even worse.
Yeah, because my face is brighter than the wall in the background. So anyhow, so a few housekeeping things. We're going to need a larger coffee corner to hold all the mugs. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Yeah. How is everybody doing? It's not way too early. It's almost 9 o'clock which can feel too early when you're working from home.
True. But it's Friday.
On a Friday of all things. I normally have this early anyway. So a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, the heckin' urethane stuff is in. So luke.bowlinglabs.com or store.bowlinglabs.com. Evan Raffini also has some interesting stuff and some pretty cool stuff on his side of the website, and he is graciously taking care of literally everything. I just said, hey, I want this. He makes it. He gets it produced. He ships it. He does literally everything. I just bring the people. So,
that's pretty nice.
So yeah, he takes care of literally everything. So
you've got hoodies and t-shirts.
Yeah, we did do the t-shirts. We thought about the hoodies to begin with since it's warm outside, but once you get inside and start bowling, unless you're a professional bowler, which is really interesting. Well, once they're actually bowling, unless you're Brad Miller, I think PBA stars are cold.
Yeah.
Just in general, they're all cold. There's something that I learned.
I like to bowl in a hoodie, though. I do like to bowl in a hoodie.
Yeah, I can't do it because it just restricts movement. It's like the guys you see that have the button-up shirts and they have the shirts open, or the women that have the kind of the longer tails on the side of their shirt, and it's like brushing past their hand or their arm whenever they're throwing the ball, and I just don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
The hoodie's not bad, though.
So anyhow, so people said, okay, well, most people don't bowl in hoodies or jackets or whatever. And so they said, if that was a t-shirt, I would wear that when I was bowling league. I'm like, okay, well, it turned into Spaceballs, heckin' urethane, the t-shirt. So we have all that stuff up again. Once again, luke.bowlinglabs.com to go check out this stuff. We also have the Panda Pack patches. And if you've been on the front page of the channel, you have also seen a link for a live stream on the 19th James, Mr. Shimrecker, and I are going to be breaking down all the releases from this year. We're also going to be having a fundraiser stream for Positive Tales, our local dog rescue, like we did for Angel's birthday in May. We have some pretty cool things to give away. If I'd have had the forethought, I would have brought up the pins, but you have seen the pins most likely. We got signed pins, Tom Hess and Brad, of course, Brad Miller's local here. Buddy has grown up, and Tom Hess is pretty local to the area too. So we see him at a lot of the our local tournaments run by Dave Waswo and Mike Adamski. Dave Waswo was actually here up in my office yesterday for his live stream with Bull TV. You can check that out on their YouTube channel.
Very great interview.
Yeah, it was a really good interview, and it was a whole lot of fun. And I said he was here for that using my setup. So typing before coffee is not working. Yeah, bowling pins more specifically. But yeah, we have signed pins from Brad Miller and Tom Hess that we're going to be giving away with that. We're also going to be giving away some bowling balls. We have some extra stuff. So join us for that. All the details, it would take me way too long. And you know how bad I am about rambling anyway, so it'd take me way too long to go through that. If you're interested, go find all the information is in the description. The reason that we're doing this again is that Christmas is kind of a rough time for rescues because a lot of people get dogs or puppies for Christmas and then 2 weeks later realize they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. And so a lot of the dogs end up at shelters or at rescues or whatever else. And so there's both a lot more people that are needed to help out and a lot more money that's needed. And the lady that runs this local one also set up a memorial fund in her son's name. She lost her son earlier this year. And so she set up a fund in his name to help out people with unexpected expenses for the dogs, whether they need surgery or if they need all kinds of different things. And so we're kind of doing this is a rough time of the year for them, especially going into January. And so we thought that we would, the first video looked like one of those inspirational photos they had hanging in schools in the 90s. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's a great cause. It really is.
But so we're going to do that on December 19th. It's Saturday at 7 p.m., assuming that we get out of the tournament at a decent time. Measles. Chill.
I would hope so. We start in the morning.
Yeah. You would hope so. So anyway, we're going to get into, I think that's all, and that's all that I had. Heckin' urethane stuff. It's up. It looks really sharp. Sometimes you don't really know, but all the stuff he's done so far has been really quality. We started with the patches, and he also did the Reddit patches for anybody that's on the bowling subreddit in there doing that. Those came out really sharp, and then we have the Panda Pack patches that came in too, and that actually helps support the rescue here locally too. So you buy a patch, and at least $1 goes to the rescue, and there's an option on there to donate more. There's an option on there to donate more if you so choose. So answering a question here before we get into it, I've had a 4-step approach for my 4 years of high school bowling. Just got back into bowling a couple months ago. Been thinking about going to a 5-step approach. Thoughts? I actually started with a 4-step approach. I went to 5-step. It's a little tricky. Anytime you mess with timing, it's always rough. But I would say it's worth it to get an extra step to get into your rhythm. When you use a 4-step approach, everything kind of starts really quickly and almost at the same time. If you get into a 5, or some people even have more steps than that. So if you get into a 5-step, at least it gives you a step to kind of ease into things and to kind of set your timing right. But there's a lot of people that do it really well with 4 too. So it's just whatever's the most comfortable for you.
You're back to 5 now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really different. Well, and actually, I start with the same foot now, lefty, that I did when I was a 4-step righty. So,
I mean, you make it work. So, I personally am 4 myself. So.
Yeah. All right. So, I can't move though.
Yeah, I wouldn't move.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been down this road before. So, anyhow, the title of the stream is Relentless Persistence, and it's something that's that's hit me. We've been watching this season of America's Got Talent. They have all the recaps, or they have we're halfway through the finals, so we don't know who wins. So don't spoil it for us. We're not going to spoil it for anybody else either.
I have no idea, Russ.
But you know, a lot of these people have all kinds of different stories of growing up and, you know, through adversity or having something. It seems like everybody has an adversity story, but there's kind of an interesting little twist there. Even people that you don't think that would have somebody that seemingly is really attractive and outgoing and seems to have it all. There's still something that, you know, isn't quite right for them either. Or sometimes they end up with expectations because they look a certain way. And some people think, well, you should, or because they were born into a prominent family, or because they had a bunch of resources and whatever, and they can have a bunch of, you know, unnecessary expectations placed on them, a lot of extra pressure to go a certain direction that they may not want to go. So even when something looks right for somebody, it may not necessarily be right. And then obviously there's all kinds of other things that going on with certain people that just life didn't really go so well for, but through the process of getting themselves somewhere, it taught them a lot. So no matter what you do, some people are born with a more of a leg up. Some people are not, but again, there's all kinds of little things going on that. So number one, you shouldn't assume anything about anybody before you get to know them. Number two, and I think the most important thing, is that you just need to be honest and accept what you have to work with. And you know, just to be perfectly honest, he's short and bald. I'm skinny, very pale and ginger. Obviously, as you can see, what's going on here.
We have great lighting, though.
We have great lighting. I might need to put it a little bit further back, or just make the room completely black so that my overwhelming paleness, just that's probably what keeps screwing the webcam up. It's like I said, it's probably just my face, and it's probably actually my face.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. But that's the thing, is that, you know, growing up, you know, or not growing up quite as much as everybody else in your case, it's just one of those things that you have to get over, that you have to get used to. One thing that really frustrates me with people is that they try to, well, they look at me and they see this, and I'm just going to show that I'm not just a typical this, or that I'm going to overcome, or that I'm going to do this. That's all fine and good. For instance, you could probably be a really good basketball player if you wanted to be.
I don't know about that.
Well, if you really put the work in, you could get to where, I mean, because Muggsy Bogues was 5'3" or something like that.
He's actually my height.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 5'4". So.
Okay. But you can either take that direction and decide that you're going to be contrarian and kind of swim upstream and whatever else. And so you can put a bunch of extra work into something and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this just to prove all the doubters or all the haters wrong, or anybody that ever made a short joke at me. I'm just going to show them up. Or you can take the gifts that you already naturally have and you can put those to better use. You know, I wasn't really, I'm average height. But my birthday is in August, and so I was always the youngest one in my class.
Right.
Besides being skinny and kind of undersized and whatever else, and so I was always the last one getting picked for anything. So, you know, basketball, football, I just never played football because that just was not a good idea. Again, I could have decided that I could be a football player too, but I would have been like the punter and the holding the kicks for somebody else to do, because nothing else in football just
get paid good money to do
would have ever worked out. And besides always being the youngest one in my class and being small and whatever else, I could have been contrarian and gone against the system too, but that's not really the direction that my talents lied, and I couldn't really figure out where my talents lay to begin with. And so you can look at certain people and say, oh, okay, well, you're this or you're that or you're whatever else. But, and I'm sure that you got picked on a lot. I got picked on a lot. A lot of it wasn't necessarily serious. When you're young, it's a whole lot bigger of a deal than it is now.
Of course.
But it's one of those things, you get used to it. And if you don't ever get used to it and don't ever admit, you know, look, this is just the way things are, I think that's a big stumbling block or a roadblock for a lot of people to get where they ultimately want to be, because they wish that they were something different, or they wish that they looked different, or they wish that they had something. But that's the same for literally everybody. I mean, sometimes people, really attractive people, that's also a curse too, because especially on the female side of thing. I mean, there's some women that just can't hide. It's not that they print themselves up. They just can't hide it. And it invites a bunch of unwanted attention.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah.
And, people sliding into their DMs, as the kids say.
Very nice.
But you can either be bitter and upset about it, or you can do something with it, and it can actually teach you something along the way. There's, I always used to think that failure was a mark of not being ready for something, or an inability was, means that you shouldn't be there in the first place. Well, you have to, going through school, you're being taught a bunch of things. You don't know all this stuff before you go to class. And so that's like saying, well, you don't know this stuff, you shouldn't be in class. It's like, well, no, that's why I'm in class, to learn this stuff. And that's like experiencing anything in life. You have to get out there and do it, to learn about it, to figure out whether it's something that you're going to even be able to do. And especially in sports, it's like, well, you suck at this, you shouldn't even be here. It's like, well, I don't know that I suck at this yet. Like,
you gotta let me try it first,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So did you have anything, specifically growing up, or any kind of experience? I mean, obviously, when did you start bowling?
Started bowling about 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I kind of just got into. I used to do karate. I know that sounds kind of strange.
Well, no, but that's something that could work out really well for you.
And I actually enjoyed it, but it was something that I started doing on a whim about 5 years old. Saturday morning youth leagues, and it just kind of stuck. I mean, never thought, hey, I'm really good at this, I should just keep doing this. But it's one of those where I just enjoyed it. So, and it kept growing and growing and growing. And then you start bowling tournaments, and you start bowling more leagues, and here we are today. So, yeah.
So, but karate is another one of those things that, given your size, I could see you being really good at it.
Yep.
Because I imagine you're pretty quick, you're pretty fast, your balance is probably pretty good. And that's something about Angel that, I say weevils wobble, but they don't fall down. She's short, and she has a very centralized center of gravity. She just will not fall down. Me, on the other hand, my center of gravity is somewhere like right here.
Push it, you're going.
And so I can be standing up and just, I don't know how many times where I go to pick my ball up off the rack at league, and then all of a sudden I stumble, and it's like, wow, has he had too much to drink? It's like, no, I have
to watch out for that now.
Yeah, I just have really long, skinny legs, and my center of gravity is like right in this general direction. And so I can be standing still and just kind of tilt one way or the other, and I'm gone. So balance is not my,
I am pretty quick,
my forte.
Very good on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
Always have been. I mean, I guess that my size probably has a lot to do with that. And I never really thought about that until you just said that. So
yeah. But that's something that's taken me kind of 40 years to get to the point of, I was always really uncomfortable with what I looked like and kind of who I was. And I was always getting picked last for things. And, I've always thought, well, I don't have, okay, glad I silenced that. Oh, thanks. It just told me I posted a new video like in half an hour past the facts. I appreciate that. I'm going ahead and do that. But the one thing that I didn't really realize here until lately, the other thing too, is that I used to be, and this would make me terribly shy and introverted. And so the whole doing the YouTube thing has really brought that. I can sit here and talk for days at a camera now, when before it would take me 2 or 3 hours sometimes to record 1.5 minutes of audio for a bowling video. Yep. Because I'm like, oh, well, that sounds stupid. No, and something that Waspo said yesterday is that nobody really likes the sound of their own voice. He was talking about Canizaro.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, no matter how good or how bad you think you sound, everybody thinks that they sound like an idiot. So it's just one of those things I didn't like. Well, I just kind of droned on. I'm like, okay, well, I have to inject more life into what I'm talking about, or that vocal inflection wasn't right, or gosh, I really sound like an idiot there. Or I said, or I just kind of, there was an awkward pause, or I kind of droned into something. And so I would re-record it and re-record it and re-record it, because I was just so deathly afraid of.
Were you ever worried about what people would think Like,
Oh yeah.
do you think this sounds stupid? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, especially if I said something about bowling that I thought to be true or that I noticed or whatever else, and somebody disagreed with me, then automatically I would think that I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'd never thought, well, I have a different point of view or I have a different opinion or anything else. I always thought I was wrong and it was bad or it was embarrassing or it was whatever else, and so I tend to just clam up and not really talk to anybody. I found this great Facebook group the other day. It says it's some introvert memes or something.
Oh.
And they're amazing. I mean, they are 100% accurate on top of everything. There was one particular time I can remember when I was probably 17 or 18, but one of my friends was one of these very quick John Hildreth, very quick, very witty, confident, right on top of things, always has something to say, is always the person that knows exactly what to say, that always has something quick and witty to come up with, and they're kind of the life of the party. And I'm the one that kind of sits in the corner and just, please, dear God, no one notice me. I will be here just because I'm supposed to be here and whatever else, but please, God, no one noticed me.
You were the kid in class. Please don't pick me.
And there was one time where he said something. He just happened to be walking by and he did something funny, you know, like John walks around and he bobs his head and he says something funny and says something clever or witty. And I tried to come back with something of my own and my head just cramped up and I just kind of sat there and I couldn't get a word out. Measles, chill. Maisel can get all kinds of words out. Yeah, she had Dave going yesterday because she's tiny, but when she goes to let that bark loose,
it's loud.
Yeah. But anyway, I sat there and I didn't say a word, and he was just, there was a super awkward pause, and his eyes got wide, and he said something funny, and he walked off, and it was just the most uncomfortable thing. I'm like, well, I can't. I'm so like mentally. This has made me so like mentally nuts that I can't even talk to somebody. Somebody says hi and my brain just cramps up and then I'm just done. So I'm just the most awkward individual out there. And I have a talent for making things ridiculously uncomfortable, whether I'm too serious or too joke too much with something. My wife calls me Sheldon, and I have those moments where it's not that I don't understand it, but it's just I'm trying to not be myself. I'm trying to be more outgoing or trying to be more funny, and it just doesn't work. And the YouTube thing has actually kind of, I just don't shut up now. I can just talk forever, and you know, my co-host can sit here and
laugh,
get the Luke experience where you just kind of stare awkwardly at the screen and just kind of hang out like, hey, I'm here too.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah. Luckily, they're off the screen.
Sorry, you're giving me a good laugh on some of those where I could just see the guy saying something to you and you just not
because
saying anything.
Yeah. And it's actually a really proud moment when I have something quick or witty to say, or I say something and somebody laughs. Is like, maybe I'm figuring this out.
Yes.
40 years later, I'm actually figuring something out here. That's crazy. But I realize that that's not really my thing. Some people are really quick and witty and in the moment. I wish I was like that. But those type of people often can't really slow down. I'm really good at slowing things down and thinking through something and getting into stuff that's a little bit deeper. And so, as far as the bowling thing goes, I don't think I'm ever going to be, aside from the art. And this is something I've been frustrated with the entire time. I started bowling and then I started bowling late. I bowled for like a year when I was 11 or 12, but then I didn't bowl again until I graduated high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
And so it's like, well, obviously I'm not going to go. I played basketball in high school, but I kind of rode the bench. And anytime I got inside that big circle on the outside of things, my skin started to burn a little bit. So
Angel says, what is this slow down you speak of?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is I don't really slow. I'm always doing something, but I have an ability to understand concepts and get really deeply inside of something and understand why something ticks and why something works. And that kind of helps. Oh boy, don't do it.
Oh no, I just took a drink.
No,
it's trying.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to reset it now, so we might just be fuzzy the rest of the time. See, I don't understand what it is with this camera.
It's been sitting there trying to do it the whole time. Where it'll
Yeah,
try
I
and
don't-
focus and unfocus.
Yeah, we're just going to be fuzzy the rest of. Oh no,
There we go. Bang. Oh no.
no, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You got out there real close. It looked like it wanted to do it.
Yep.
Just kind of hold it there. Let it focus on that.
Yeah. No, I just have no idea what this camera's deal is. We're just going to be fuzzy the rest of the time because I'm not going to reset this now. Oh, we were closer to the camera last week, but the thing is that it does this autofocus thing, or it just has a way to screw itself. We tried to get further away from the camera so that we didn't look like we were directly on top of it, but I just have no idea what this camera's problem is. There we go.
Don't do it.
There we go. Bam.
Yeah.
I think I figured it out. Probably not.
Win for the day there.
Yep. Anyway, we're back, and we're going to try not to move.
Just don't move, whatever you do.
I don't understand. Adding darker shade behind you would work probably. Well, again, it's my face. It's the lighting on my face. It has to keep, my face is so bright and everything else is such a contrast that
we had that natural lighting last week too. And this
I actually set up the umbrellas with the lights. Because it's dark outside
you can
today.
See them off my
so,
glasses,
you can see the lights off his glasses there. Heckin' professionals. It's actually a really good camera. It's a Logitech. It's Logitech's like best rated streaming camera. I can't see it. It doesn't have the model number on the front. I'm definitely not going to move. It's both of you, and you're wearing dark colors on a dark couch. Okay, yeah, possibly. Never a problem. And that's the thing, is that I've had problems with this thing no matter whether light, dark, anything. It just decides it doesn't want to focus, or as soon as you go to move or anything enters the picture, it tries to refocus on it, and then it gets blurry, and then it just quits.
I mean, I can take my hat off if that'll help.
Yeah, well,
it'll just get
probably not.
Just get brighter.
Anyhow, I have no idea what we were talking about now.
You were talking about slowing down. You slow things down.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
kind of where we were at. Yep.
So, the bowling thing. I played basketball and played some baseball and whatever else, but it wasn't really nothing really worked out in baseball because I was actually a really good catcher, but getting the throw down to second base just wasn't something that was going to happen very fast. I was a really good pitcher. I was accurate, but I basically threw home run derby practice. There was one year when I was the oldest in my age group, and it was like the 13 to 15 range. I was 15, and I was really good because I just didn't. I mean, they were either going to have to swing or they were going to strike out. I actually struck out 9 people in 2 innings. The catcher dropped the ball 3 times. So I did strike out. I have that kind of, technically it's 6 strikeouts for anyone keeping score at home, but
that's a memory. That's good. It's good.
Yeah. So I did strike out 9 people in 2 innings. It's just the catcher dropped the ball 3 times, and he didn't get the throw down to first in time. So
they still count as strikeouts at least. So
yeah. I mean, I can at least say that
they're strikeouts without the out.
Yeah, but when I was not the oldest person in my age group, and even when my last few years, or my last year when I was 18 in the 16 to 18 group, it just, at that point, all the kids that I played with, it was a more competitive league, and all the kids I played with played high school ball and whatever else, and I rode the bench a lot. It was something I got used to in any kind of physical sport. Like I said, I didn't even try football because that wasn't going to happen.
I didn't play football.
Baseball was okay. Yeah. Basketball was okay. And that's the thing, is I didn't miss free throws, but I would never get into a situation where I was going to get fouled anyway. So we didn't shoot a whole lot of those.
I did play basketball. That was surprisingly I did, but it was like middle school age. I could run and dribble, but I could not shoot a lick. And if you want me to drive the lane,
you're just going to run into the trees and
look for the nearest open guy. Here you go.
Yeah. Zoom in there and pass it to somebody else.
Exactly.
But so when I got out of high school, I'm like, well, I'm not going to play anything in college. I'm not even going to play on any city league teams. It's like, well, I'm just done with sports unless it's a pickup game with friends or something
Right.
like that. It's just nothing that I'm going to compete in. I'm not going to burden somebody else with me being on a team. I mean, I can be the stats guy at the end of the bench, or I can, be the equipment guy or whatever else. And then I just had a friend randomly that asked me, hey, I need somebody from my youth team on Saturdays. I had somebody quit. Do you want to bowl? I'm like, well, I remember bowling, at some certain point when we were younger. Mom and dad bowled when we were little, and then they quit because kids are expensive. And then they got us into it for a couple years. Like I said, when I was 11, 12, 13. And then we started doing junior high and high school sports and stuff like that. And so I got back out of it, but then I got back into it, and I'm like, well, hey, this is something that bowling is bowling like golf is kind of an equalizer. It doesn't really matter if you're short or if you're tall. I mean, you got, in the PBA clash, the All-Star clash, Norm Dukes bowling Wes Malott for the.
And that is a tremendous.
Yeah, I know. And it's just a tremendous difference, but they're both really good bowlers. And so bowling is one of those things that's an equalizer. It doesn't matter whether you're tall, short, male, female. Danielle McEwen made it for quite a while. A lot of the seeing the PBA league teams and a couple women's teams was a whole lot of fun. And so it doesn't really matter one direction or the other.
Brad, for example, is not a very big guy either. So.
Yeah. And he kind of reminds me of kind of that Norm Duke type, where he's added a bunch of versatility. He's gotten a whole lot better. Hopefully we will schedule him for something here in the near future, because it'd be really fun to talk about, his perspective, especially getting out there. A lot of the older bowlers have, I'm sure, a lot of stories he says that Norm Duke just has stories on top of stories on top of stories.
Oh, that guy is ridiculous. Yeah.
But with Brad right in the middle of finding out what it takes and getting better and working harder and whatever else, that's a really great perspective to have in the middle there too. But, it's not something that was very easy for me to, it sucked, because I like playing basketball. I like playing baseball, but it just wasn't anything that I was genetically predisposed for beyond accuracy. Accurate a lot of stuff, but if you don't have the power for it, especially in the more physical sports, there's just nothing. But in something like playing pool or darts or bowling or golf or something else where accuracy is more important, power will help. But if that power is not also paired with accuracy, it's not going to be any help. And women grow up and they have kind of a similar experience, but also a really different experience at the same time, because women are judged a whole lot more on how they look.
Yeah.
Guys are based or judged more on how capable they are. Now you have somebody like AJ Johnson, who just makes me feel incredibly inadequate because he's this big strapping dude with that square jaw, and he's got the nice hair, and he's got the nice beard and whatever else. And, women grow up with the Barbie dolls and whatever else. But when I grew up, we still had He-Man and G.I. Joe. And
same here.
Now we had freaking Captain America, and Chris Evans is ridiculous. And so I'm just sitting here going like, I mean, what as the
video games and everything else that these days, it's changed so much.
Yeah, it's like that's definitely not me, and it can make you as a guy feel less of a guy. But women at the same time are judged less on their abilities, and if you just look at them and they're not, instantly attractive or something, it's just like, well, it doesn't even matter.
Yep.
The rest of it, they're not attractive, then they're whatever else. But you would think that somebody like Daria Payuk, who gets a lot of attention because she's attractive, she's probably got stuff, and that doesn't mean that you're going to be good at bowling. She's put a whole ton of work and people think, oh, well, she does play it up. She uses it to her advantage, but at the same time, that's not going to help her on the lanes. That doesn't have anything to do with how good she can be as a bowler or how hard she's going to have to work. And in some certain cases, it can work against her at the same time. You look at somebody like that and think, oh, well, she's going to have the world or get all this attention just because of the way she looks. But a lot of it can be negative attention too. And a lot of people can put some unrealistic expectations on you for that as well. And so I think that, that people like us, I guess, that that don't have those physical gifts or blessings or advantages or whatever, I have learned a whole bunch, and it's frustrated me specifically circling back around to the bowling thing. I got pretty good pretty quick. And then, I had the shoulder injury playing basketball, of course, the whitest story you've ever heard, which fits my skin tone. I dislocated my shoulder on a layup when nobody touched me. The whitest thing you've ever heard.
That definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, you've also got you're physically gifted. You can use both hands. Like, to be able to switch the way you did to left hand is impressive.
Well, and see, that's the thing that I started with playing basketball. I had to, if I would have been somebody that was, and that fits perfectly in with what we're talking about. If I would have been one of those bigger people, if I was, 6'4", 6'5", 220 or something, I don't think I would have ever developed the way that I did. And that also goes into the bowling thing too. But in high school, a lot of people were really easy to guard because they used their dominant hand.
Oh, yeah.
Righties would always dribble right-handed, and all you had to do was shade them on defense. And so I was able to use my head a lot of the time, which has really helped me in bowling too. But I was able to use my head a lot of the time to make up for the lack of physical ability or capability or whatever you want to say. And so I got really good using my left hand because I thought, well, I'm not gonna just drive right through somebody. And so I have to be able to be more versatile.
Outsmart them.
Yeah, I have to outsmart them. I have to have more tricks. I have to have more whatever. And so you'll notice that a lot of the guys, Muggsy Bogues and Allen Iverson and some of the guys that aren't as tall as the rest of them, they're really good passers. They're really good dribblers. Yep. They're quick. And so they have a bunch of things that they can use to their advantage to make their team better, aside from just getting to the hoop and putting the ball in the bucket. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all you do and advice on that ProMotion ball change. Yeah, you sent me an email. I got back to you yesterday, and appreciate that, and appreciate the tip there. It's really helps out quite a bit, and look forward to getting emails from you and talking to you. So
sorry, didn't mean to cut you off while you're flowing there, but I saw it come
it's all
across.
good. Yeah.
I don't want to go too far, but I also want to congratulate you a week ago today, by the way, on shooting your first left-handed 300.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was going to talk about it, but it seems like it's been such a long time ago because it was
a week already.
Yeah, it was right after we got done with this. I'm like, well, I'm going to remember to mention that.
Gave you a shout out yesterday too.
Yeah, Waswell gave me a shout out. That was a really cool stream. If you want to go check that out too. But so yes, for those of you who haven't seen the video, I did shoot my first lefty 300 last week.
Proud teammate.
Yeah. But developing skill with my offhand, I got so comfortable. I actually started shooting left-handed because I thought, well, if I'm going up for a layup or something, and somebody expects me to use my right hand because I'm right-handed, then I can use my left hand and maybe fake them out. And so I got so good doing left-handed layups that I actually got more comfortable
left-handed
doing those. Yeah. And so when I started bowling, I got into, after a couple of years, I was in the pro shop all the time, literally all the time. Like if there was a day that went by that I wasn't in the pro shop, he was confused. And so I was in there so much that he eventually offered me a job one day because he already had a regular job and then he operated the pro shop on the side, and he wanted to kind of bowl or not work 7 days a week or whatever else. And he said, hey, do you want to work a couple days a week for me? And I said, sure. And, it's obviously the biggest thing in the world to get into a pro shop or get into a center and cheaper equipment and cheaper practice and whatever else. Well, when we were slow or, we got free at that time, we got free practice. And so when I wasn't working, I would go out there and I would just bowl until my arm got tired right-handed. And then the idea came into my head because I was so good bowling or playing, got so good with my left-handed basketball that I thought, well, I can probably bowl left-handed too. And so I gave it a shot. It actually worked out. And so I would bowl 20, 25 games righty, and then I bowled 5 or 10 more lefty. And
it's crazy.
And I actually got fairly decent at it. And so when I did injure my shoulder in 05 or 06 or something, I'm like, well, hey, I've got something I can do. I can switch to the other hand. And this is actually a thing. I've been working on it and whatever else. But if I was more of the size or more of the ability, I probably would not have I would have relied on those gifts or that type of thing. And so I probably would not have ever developed lefty. And so, the bowling thing may not have stuck though if I had other physical gifts. And so it's really interesting to think about. And so,
do you write left-handed?
No, I write right-handed.
Okay.
So everything's right-handed, and the lefty thing, I'm not naturally ambidextrous or anything. I just spent so much time working on it and kind of built it up, which again is something I probably never would have done if I was otherwise able, so to speak. And that's the thing, is going back to the, oh crap. See, I don't know why it just decided, okay, we figured out how to fix this. I'll stick the mug in the front and just wait until it focuses on that.
No, we are not advertising Star Wars.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if we have to hold it there a little longer.
It did that before.
There you go.
So
there you go.
And then we're still a little blurry.
I mean, that's manageable. There. Yeah. Now we're cooking with gas.
Bam.
See,
I just don't understand this camera. Oh yeah. See, these are these technical glitches that Waswa was talking about yesterday, that sometimes they seem like, oh my gosh, this is going to be really embarrassing. And this is something that, I would be super quick to freak out if something went wrong during a live stream. I really don't care now. So yes, it's this Black Rifle coffee. I'm got the AK or the espresso.
Angel, someone is going to have to find the manual.
Yeah, I know where the manual's at, but
look at it. See,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's better now.
That's great.
It's all fixed, and it's an interesting little segue. And
yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the picture looks great.
When it's not fuzzy.
This is what, 1080p, right?
Yeah.
It was probably me when I made a sudden movement.
I don't know. You need a new coffee maker. I've been on a tea kick. I actually use our coffee maker for tea. I just don't stick the pod in there. We got one of the new the new Keurigs with the multi-stream technology, saturates the grounds more evenly. Great commercial, by the way. Actually, great coffee maker too. But it works well for tea because because it's hot tea without having to stick the mug in the microwave. All I do is I stick the tea bag in there, or the tea steeper in there, and I just don't put the coffee pod in there, and just run it through its cycle, and it just makes I have hot water in 30 seconds.
And it makes great coffee.
And my tea is steeping. Yeah, and it makes great coffee too. So, but when you look at somebody, again, going back to the AJ Johnson thing, or somebody that has more physical gifts, or that's more physically blessed with, with strength or with height or with something else, I saw a lot. You see a lot of bowlers that have naturally a lot of speed and a lot of power.
Yeah. But
they seem clueless because they're so used to overpowering the lane. And it's like, God, I'd love to be able to throw pins around and whatever else. But at the same time, because you don't have that to rely on, you've got to be more accurate.
Yep.
Most of the time, you're going to stay out of trouble, at least hold your head above water, unless you just have an off day. And for other people, it's either going to be feast or famine. But if they're used to relying on their speed, on their power, they may not learn as much about ball reaction or lane play or whatever else. They're just used to shooing it up on a house shot and being able to throw it hard and put a bunch of revs on it and throw pins everywhere. But when they actually have to execute or actually have to bowl, all of a sudden there's problems.
Yep.
And, when I hurt my shoulder, I didn't really ever have a whole lot of power, but that's kind of the direction that my head wanted to go, because it was like, well, I'll knock down more pins if I hook it more, and I didn't necessarily have the strength or the gifts to really do it. And so I ended up just being one of those guys that slow hooked the entire lane because I couldn't throw it hard enough to get it down the lane.
EJ Tackett. Yeah, exactly. That's another guy that's just...
EJ Tackett was one that I was going to bring up here just in a second. But and then when I hurt my shoulder, I rushed my rehab trying to get back, and I didn't, I just wanted to get back to bowling, and then that's when the weird hitch thing came in, and I blew out a lot of the muscles on the front. I didn't know tendons, ligaments, anything like that. It's just I tore some muscles, and it just, when you injure something, it just doesn't come back as strong as it was to begin with. And again, I rushed my rehab, And so I was using the muscles on the backside of my shoulder to kind of pull the ball up. And so that's where I got this weird little hitch thing. And that just doesn't work well for mechanics. And so I fought with it and I went back and forth, and then it just continued to deteriorate. And then I ended up actually switching and bowled a couple of years left-handed, and it went well, but I like the kind of the adventure on the right side of the lane. There's a whole lot more going on when you put together a bowling ball arsenal to go to a tournament, especially a 6 or 8 gamer. You're like, okay, well, probably going to start with this one, and then I'll transition down into this one, or if they get a little soft down lane, I can use this one or whatever else. On the left side of the lane, it's like, find the ball that works.
Whole new world.
Camp there. Because it's you're going to have the same lane condition, especially when you're moving lanes. You're going to have the same thing every single time. And again, it's either a feast or famine thing. It's either you're going to have it, you're going to have a look, or you're not going to have a look. Now, on the left side, it does give me a whole lot more time to get the necessary experience without, switch. Okay, well, this didn't work out. And then, well, I don't know what to do in transition. Now I don't know what to do in here. So it's giving me more time to filter through things and process something. By the end of a 6 or 8 game block, I should have been able to learn something or figure something out, because the constants don't really change a whole lot on the left side. And that could be, again, a good thing or a bad thing. It's going back to the, having, people with more physical gifts. Most of the time, Waswa talked about it yesterday. It's like people are going to look lefty and say, well, the shot never changes. You don't ever have to deal with transition, or you don't have to deal with that. Yes, but at the same time, it adds in a whole bunch of other problems, especially when you get to a different situation. And that's what Waswo said, is that, when you're on a house shot, most of the time the lefty is going to have an advantage, sometimes not. And if you get on something tough, the righty's just kind of, we're going to break it down or it'll open up. Well, it never happens on the left side of the lane. And so when you have somebody like a Matt McNeil go nuts at Nationals, he had to be it drives it home even more now, that he had to be ridiculously accurate and do the same thing over and over again, repeatedly, without the lane breaking down or opening up or giving him any help at all. I mean, that's what the righties do. Is
he's by himself.
When the righties break down a lane, it's like, well, you're going to sacrifice the first game so that you can go big games 2 and 3 and go for that eagle. Well, you just have to outbowl the lane, basically, on the left side of the lane. There's no opening it up, or there's no making it easier. There's no, breaking the pattern down. It's, you got what you got, and you better hit what you're aiming at, or you're screwed.
Does it play flatter on the left side on, say,
and it does play flatter on the left side, because again, there's more room on the right side of the lane to get to the pocket.
Yep.
But if you get to the pocket on the left side, the carry percentage is higher. I kick more 7s. I get more mixers, because the back end reaction is sharper. And some people, more back end is better. Well, no, if you miss a pinch inside, it's just hooking. There's none of this rocket to the pocket, tug it a little bit and get that hold where it just kind of sits there. That doesn't happen. You get a little bit inside and it's just going. It's just hooking. And so with more definition of shape, that gives you a smaller window to get to the pocket. So if you are reasonably accurate, or you can at least get it close, your results once you get to the pocket are most of the time going to be better than they are on the right side. But again, it's easier to stay out of trouble, I think, on the right side, because it's easier to hit the pocket. So I think that there's more friction on, there's more, there's more shape on the left side, but there's more friction on the right side, because there's a whole lot more bowling balls going down the lane. And I wonder if this is the famous, discrimination against lefties. I think this is the famous Brian Zachary in here. BZ making a rare appearance. But yeah, once you bowl so often on the right side of the lane, you develop a track. And there's a whole lot more friction in that track area. So that's why the righties will want to find the track on the lane. It's a whole lot harder to do it somewhere like Nationals, because they keep the lanes a whole lot newer. Even somewhere like South Point or Reno, they change the lanes, I think, every 4 to 5 years or something. So they don't really have that much of a chance to develop like lanes that have been in place, like in Kansas City for 20 or 25 years, where you kind of know where the shot's going to be.
Or like a convention center where they put them in for the 6 months and then they're out.
And then they're done. Yeah. So where you go to somewhere in Kansas City, no matter what the pattern is, as a righty, you kind of generally know where you're going to play.
Oh, yeah. You always have an idea.
Yeah. no matter what the pattern is, you might have to ball up, you might have to ball down, you might have to adjust a few things. You may not get the ball as far out, but you're going to be kind of generally in the same place. You just have to adjust other things to be able to stay in that same place on top of that track. So, BZ is here. But I do think if you're more accurate on the left side of the lane, it's one of those more challenge but more reward.
Yeah.
So I don't have near as much problem. I don't hook the ball a whole lot. I don't put a whole lot on the ball lefty. I just kind of float it down there and let it go. And I carry things on the left side that I let go of it. I'm like, oh crap, that's gonna suck. And then it's like, oh well, it carried. The stuff that on the right side, as soon as you let the ball go, it's like, well, that's gonna be a flat 10.
Oh, yeah.
I actually kick out a lot more 7s, and I think I don't leave flat 7s very often. I leave the blaster 7s.
Yes.
I kick a whole lot more 7s than I really expect to. And yes, I watch lefties, and it looks like a lot of them are much straighter with weaker equipment, because what happens is if you try to add angle, the back ends are so sharp that the ball tends to burn up and kind of quit making the turn. And when you already have a narrower window with which to get to the pocket, I fought against it, and I have a little bit higher of a rev rate, but the better I get, the more I realize, you know what? I need to square up with smoother equipment, with weaker, smoother equipment, and just be a lefty. And that's one of those, we go back to the whole contrarian thing of, I don't want, of wishing that you were something that you aren't actually.
Right.
And so if I want to be successful as a lefty, I need to learn how to play straighter, play the lefty track, which is a whole lot closer to the gutter than it is for righties. I kind of make the joke that the 5 board feels like the gutter for,
yes.
So I start getting nervous the closer I get to the 5 board, but there's been a couple places where I've had to play, straight up 4 or straight up 5, and it's terribly uncomfortable.
Very similar to where you played at Swiss.
Yeah. Where I played at Swiss with urethane straight up 4, or
Yep.
that one of the last Aaron's tournaments.
The one last Saturday.
Belton. Yeah, it was the one before. It was the Thanksgiving one.
Oh, yeah.
Where I ended up just flying out of it with my Tornado Pearl straight up 4 or 5 or something like that, which is terribly uncomfortable on the right
but you
side.
had a look.
I had a look if I hit it, but I wasn't really. Oh crap. Yeah, just throw it to the 3 board like Packy. Yeah, it does. That does actually work, believe it or not. I think I figured out how to.
I think if you just sit it there, it starts.
Yeah. Just I'll just leave it here.
Just gonna sit there and hold it.
Yeah. Love technology. Yeah, Angel says I need to get the manual. I don't, since there's nothing that I can adjust, I have no idea what. And like Malcolm says, it might be it's probably a lighting issue. And once again, it's my face. I've always had, and this is the thing, even with other cameras that I can manually adjust, I've always had lighting problems with my face because the.
Should we move it closer to us, you think? I mean, if they want to look at us.
Yeah. That's the thing, is generally I try to keep the camera as far away from me as possible, because it's one of those things that just doesn't go well. Yeah, cameras just don't like my face.
It sits there and wants to keep re-auto-focusing. That's kind of strange.
Yeah. Malcolm has the same problem. It's just the opposite direction. Yeah, when you take a picture with a bunch of other people and it doesn't recognize you because it can't see you.
That is strange. Like, it sits there perfect. And
yeah, it's perfect, and then it just drops off a cliff. It just drops off a cliff. So
there we go.
Nope. I didn't hold it up there long enough.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
So anyhow, and that's one of those things that, yes, I'm pale and ginger, and it's just I can either be bitter about it the rest of my life, or I can make jokes about it.
Might as well just.
I mean, you just
have fun with what you got.
Yeah, just make the jokes. You have what you have, and reality is reality, and truth is truth. No matter what you want to try to change or whatever else, it's a whole lot easier to just go your direction and go.
Oh yeah,
with what you were blessed with in the first place. And again, you look at somebody like EJ Tackett, who's 5'6" or 5'7" or whatever, and 125 pounds. Yeah, too bad you didn't adopt the Buttriff. Is actually really smart, because by taking, man, this is just wild. I don't know what the disconnect is here.
We're just trying to keep everybody entertained.
Yeah, I know. This is a Star Wars mug stream.
I mean, you can try the Panda Pack if you want.
People with not so great vision, it doesn't really make any difference to you one way or the other.
Don't move.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
There we go.
Faked it out. But anyway, yeah, the butt drift thing, because, if you do what butt drift does on the right side of the lane, it's going to be a flat 10 every single time, because he does is he shoves it right into the spot. But when you do that on the left side, it's going to hook. I mean, if you throw a shot on the left side and it doesn't hook, there's something terribly, terribly wrong. So you can that's why he just kind of gets in there and corkscrews it at the spot. It's always going to hook. So if he just throws it right at the spot, it's going to get down. Hi, me still. It's going to get, it's number one, it's going to get down. The angle is going to help it get down the lane, but then he's throwing it into all kinds of free friction that the righties don't have, especially after a couple games. You can get some carry down, you get a bunch of bowling balls going that one general direction. He's going to have consistency. He's going to have predictability. He's going to have friction. And so, yeah, he can just sit there and corkscrew it at the spot all day long. And urethane's going to pick up and go nuts. Like the Purple Hammer does things for him on the left side of the lane that some reactive balls don't do for the righties, because he can just corkscrew a purple urethane or Purple Hammer down the side, and it looks like it turns sideways.
And when you say corkscrew, he literally corkscrews.
Yeah, he literally corkscrews. He just does one of those.
My wrist hurts just watching him do that.
Yeah. But again, that's one of those things, is that I look at somebody like him that is like, that he, so this is a perfect example. Growing up, his last name is Butt. Oh yeah. I mean, so
and
he got teased for, is Butt Rough is his name. And so, he got teased for that in high school. And can you imagine the first time that we all look at him as like, well, it's weird, but he throws it really good, so it doesn't matter. But imagine the first time that he shows up to league or something with a conventionally drilled ball that he's kind of running up there and chucking. I'm sure that all kinds of people said, well, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Yep. And then showing up to his first regional, it's like, there's going to be a bunch of people looking down their noses like, well, what's that guy doing here and whatever else? Well, he's there to take your money. Yeah. And I'm sure that the first time he went to his first regional, he probably didn't cash. I have no idea. So I might be.
Depends on if the Purple Hammer was out at that time.
He might have shown up and just ran over everything and just started with his.
I think he got hot when that Purple Hammer started being a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
When urethane started kicking off on the tour, I think that's when it really started going for him.
Yeah, that's definitely.
And he was made fun of for his style. I mean,
made fun of for his style, and having somebody walk in that just has a conventionally drilled ball, and he's at a regional, and he runs up there and just kind of spins it down the lane. That he took all kinds of flack, but somebody like him, it doesn't seem like it. If it did, it probably did affect him, but he's one of those people that had to have had that confidence to even show up at a regional in the first place. Right. I've never bowled a regional because I always was the opposite direction. If somebody disagreed with me, or it was like, well, maybe I am wrong.
Right.
And so I've always been one of these people that's a little bit more thoughtful and kind of slow to kind of stand back and look at everything. And it's like, well, I may not be right, but I took it too far the other direction, instead of some of those people that are just arrogant and they just push on. It's like, oh yeah, screw everybody and I'm right and whatever. It's like, no, you're actually an idiot. So I took it the opposite direction, instead of thinking, you know what, I know that I'm onto something. I may not be right now. I may not have all the answers right now. I may not have all the information right now, but I know that I'm going the right direction. So let's just, you have to have the confidence to think, you know what, I'm onto something. There's something there. There's something working. And even if there's not something working, even if it's something you just enjoy, which that's the disconnect that gets me with a lot of bowlers, is some people roll into league and they take it so seriously and so professionally to the point that we have our team name is Mediocrity with Fancy Shirts, because we show up with our branding and we show up with 6 balls apiece and whatever else, but we don't take it that seriously with everybody else. If we lose the games or if we win the games, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. You want to win. I just want to bowl well myself personally. And so if I get upset or I get mad, it's not me getting mad at somebody else, or it's not me frying because of somebody else, or it's not me trying to be way more competitive in a league than is absolutely necessary. And that's why I think I actually get along so well with a bunch of other people that don't maybe average so high or take it so seriously, because I take my bowling seriously because I just want to do well at it. But when it comes to everybody else, it's like, well, just because I throw a ball at some weird looking white sticks better than somebody else doesn't mean
make me better than them.
Especially because I grew up with everybody always being better than me at everything. And so that's why I would stop and think, it's like, okay, well, if I can watch how somebody else does this, or if I can, just take somebody else's experience or somebody else's knowledge and use that to kind of benefit me or better myself. But I just slow rolled it way too long and had zero confidence and zero anything else. And so people look at the contract and the YouTube channel and the whatever else, and me sitting here not shutting up and not being able to get the words out fast enough to remember what I'm actually talking about. But if you go back and look at the first several videos I did, or the first couple live streams, it's painful. And this is probably still painful. It's just less painful. But it's one of those things. It's like, well, if I'm on a live stream and I can either, my brain can cramp up and I can either make myself nervous and I can screw up that way. It's just like in bowling, when it's like when you start thinking about it, and trying to do something, you throw a bad shot. It's like, well, what's the difference between just getting up there and throwing the shot and letting what happens, or you can have your brain cramp up and you can definitely throw a terrible shot. So it's one of those things. I can either say what I'm going to say, or I can sit here and cramp up and get red and get nervous, or, if I trip over my words, I can, or stutter or something, I can get nervous about that and I can get embarrassed about it, or I can just go with it because it's a whole lot more fun most of the time when you see people screw up or stumble or whatever else. It's a little bit more humanizing. It kind of breaks the ice. It kind of makes things flow better. It's just more fun, more relaxing. If you just kind of take what happens and go with the flow. That's not, I agree. That's not something I'm good at all, but I've got a question. How does axis rotation affect ball motion on different patterns with low rev bowlers? Well, low rev bowlers have to utilize axis rotation a lot. Norm Duke is somebody like that definitely changes his angle of rotation a bunch, because that's one of the tricks in his bag, that he doesn't have the speed and the power of somebody else that doesn't really change their ball roll a whole lot. They just kind of have to get it in the right spot. But he utilizes all kinds of tricks and hand positions and speeds and whatever else to make up for the power that he doesn't have. And
I'm in the same boat. So
So you've got to use a bunch of extra tricks. And so you have experience, you have knowledge, you have things that you can do that some other bowlers can't, because they've relied on other gifts or other strengths and didn't need that stuff so much. And so that was kind of the final thing that I was looking to get to here, is that I have learned a bunch of stuff from having all the physical issues and having to switch hands, and, to get to the point now where it's frustrating because I know what to do 95% of the time, I just can't do it. And that's just intensely frustrating when I go out there and I'm feeling pressure now because of the contract and because of the YouTube channel and because of the whatever else to actually be able to perform well too. But I don't think that that's ever going to be my forte. I'll be a good league bowler and I'll be fairly competitive at tournaments, but I'm not walking in there expecting to win anything.
But you enjoy it.
Nice. But yeah, I do enjoy it. And I'm starting to realize, it sucks because people will look at, it's like, well, yeah, you make ball commercials and that's the only reason anybody knows your name. It's not because you're actually a good bowler. And that, that it doesn't necessarily hurt, but it pisses me off. It's like, well, yeah, I know what I'm doing, but I can't physically do it. It's just like if you have somebody that has some kind of a disability or something, and you say, well, that does something else well, and so, well, yeah, but you can't go play basketball or something. It's like, well, that's kind of a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, everybody has different gifts and different abilities, and I think it's always best to go with what you're good at instead of trying to swim upstream and trying to prove that. I mean, you could go really out of your way to prove, oh yeah, call me short and I can do this too, or I can whatever else. It's like, well, no, I can. Let me just run circles around you. This is some big guy in basketball. It's like, oh yeah, I can dunk on you. It's like, yeah, well, I can run circles around you and you'll never touch me.
Exactly.
I can be up and down in something like karate. It's not the biggest, strongest guy is not in wrestling. Maybe that's a different story, but in karate, it doesn't really matter how big you are. In bowling, it doesn't matter how big you are. And so I think that if you learn to accept what your gifts are, what you're stuck with, there's some things you can change. There's something, I mean, there's some things you can change. There's some things you can work on, but some other things are just what they are. I mean, you can lose weight or gain weight, and actually you have lost a decent amount of weight, but I mean, you're not going to get any taller. You're not going to get any shorter. I'm not going to get any darker.
I'm not going to be able to change my physical ability in any way. Only thing I can do to my physical ability is get stronger. And that's, I'm not going to get taller. I'm not going to, well, as I get older, I'll probably get shorter. But
well, that's the thing is some people, if they want darker skin, they can go out and tan. I can either be this or the color of your shirt. That's what I got. And then after I do get pink. I get pink before I get red. Pink is on the way to red.
Let's say that would be painful.
Yeah. But I turn that color and then I go right back to this color. I actually work outside for a living. So yeah, obviously it hasn't done me any good. But, and so if you go, if you follow people on Instagram, like Verity Crawley, for example, who's always, or Danielle McEwen, who's always working out and who's always practicing. I mean, Verity goes and practices every single day. And some people will, it'd be nice. Boy, it must be nice to get free bowling balls and be able to go practice bowling every day. She worked her way into that, though. That wasn't one of those things. People like to look at where somebody else is now and forget, what it took to get there. And until I was 35, I got my contract at 35, but I had so many roadblocks and setbacks, and I was always the smallest and the slowest getting to something and the furthest behind, and, just ridiculously insecure and way too sensitive about everything. I'm still way too sensitive about everything, by the way. But it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm like, okay, well, I like doing this, and I'm just going to go this direction, and people are going to say what they're going to say, and things are going to happen the way they're going to happen. And you're never going to be completely happy with the way things turned out. But as I look at all the stuff that I've learned, kind of getting to this point, maybe I wasn't happy with the way that, with where I've ended up or what's gone on, but I've learned a whole bunch of stuff, and that what I wouldn't have learned if things were different in the first place. So if I had a leg up, or I had all these blessings, or I was bigger or stronger or better looking or something, maybe things would have on the outside looked a whole lot better or gone easier. But sometimes when people don't have challenges in life, or they have things kind of handed to them, or things are a little too easy, when they do have to rely on themselves and their abilities and their talents, their knowledge, their experience, whatever else, it kind of ends up being a little hollow.
Yeah.
Because if things come easy to somebody, if you don't have to work to accomplish them, if you never have any roadblocks in your way, that's why so many of these people on America's Got Talent, that, they develop these talents specifically because they had a challenge they had to overcome. If you never have a challenge, you never have something to overcome.
Right.
If you never lift any heavier weights, if you start with, I don't know, 10 or 15 pound dumbbells or something like that, if you never move beyond that you're never going to challenge yourself. You're never going to grow. You're never going to learn. Nothing's ever going to happen. And so, I think that, like on the wall here, consider it pure joy when you face trials. And it's not a whole lot of fun to bowl terrible, but when you bowl terrible, you learn stuff. And people will say, well, if you do something and you don't learn anything, that's when you really truly fail. But I'll take it even a step further. I would do things and I would fail and I would learn from them, but I never would apply that knowledge or experience to anything else. If you fail and you learn from something, but never take what you learned and apply that again, or use that to succeed, then that's just as big of a waste as not learning anything at all.
Correct.
Because if you know how to do something and don't ever put yourself back out there to do it or give it another shot.
A lot of people don't realize too, though, like say a tournament, you go out, or league for that matter, if you go out and bowl really bad and you're not executing, instead of just frying out, you can really learn some things because you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That could teach you to do it better next time or the time after that.
And there's, if you're in a 6 or 8 game tournament and that you're outside the number the last couple games, try to learn something.
Do something that's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Do something different.
Yeah, do something dumb, do something that doesn't make sense, and that's when
it always works.
Yeah, again, that's when it always works, because all of a sudden you're like, well, I give up. I'm just, oh crap.
Back to Star Wars.
Yeah, it just randomly does this.
It's not like
frying. I fry out like crazy. I definitely fry out, but it's because at this point, I feel like I know what to do. I just can't physically do it. And that's what really irritates me, is because I feel like, and I can't imagine somebody like Brad that shows up to a regular tournament. It's like, well, you're a pro bowler. You ought to just walk all over everybody. And if he has a couple bad games he doesn't seem to really fry out. He looks disappointed, or he looks frustrated.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really.
Well, all the tour bowling, they kind of have to level their frying up.
Oh yeah, they have to, because it's a week in and week out thing. It's one of those. It's one of those things where, if you show up to a tournament or you show up to league and you do something repeatedly, they're going to have weeks where every single one of them bowled terrible. I remember the U.S. Open, and I felt really bad for him, but the U.S. Open in Wichita in 2018, Belmo's family flew in from Australia and surprised him, and he missed the cut.
Oh, that's right. I forget they were at North Rock here a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they were at North Rock a couple of years ago, and he missed the cut. And you think Belmo doesn't miss cuts at majors? He doesn't miss cuts, period, let alone at majors.
It happens.
Especially when his family flies in from Australia to see him. And it might have been one of those things where they were probably all disappointed that he didn't, continue on past that. But it might have actually been kind of a blessing in disguise, where he actually got to, instead of them just sitting there in the stands watching him the rest of the time, he probably got to spend some time with them that he wouldn't have normally gotten to spend with them. And they can watch him on TV winning plenty of tournaments. I'm sure that they've been in attendance for him. They did get to see him
finally win in the World Series at the World Championship.
Yeah, at the World Championship. So,
they watch him plenty.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, and somebody asked, what kind of experience can you, or tips giving someone bowling their first tournament? You have to start at some point. You have to get out there. You can't know what you're not good at before you do something. I was always the person that thought, well, I need to sit back. I need to build experience. I need to gain knowledge. I need to figure this stuff out. I need to feel like I'm ready to go before I go bowl the tournament. Well, you're never going to be ready to go before you go do something that you haven't done before.
Oh, yeah.
You have to just do it. That way you figure out a lot of tournaments, first of all, are an investment. You don't bowl with the rent money. So if you're worried about the money going into it, that's a problem. If you're worried about exactly how well you're going to bowl, or dragging your team down, or whatever else, even experienced tournament bowlers, and that's why I was talking about the Belmo thing. Even Belmo misses cuts every once in a while. And so he's the best in the world, arguably the best in the world. There's some others that are, pretty close on his tail, but he even misses cuts. He has bad days, whatever else. And so if the best in the world can have bad days, if you're going to your first tournament, you can't expect a whole lot out of it. You have to expect that you are paying for an experience. You have to learn as much as you can during that experience, and the easier going you are about it, the easier you take it. It can be easy to be nervous about something like doing a best ball at a tournament is like the most nerve-wracking thing. It's like once the best ball's over with, then
I was wondering if it was always just me on that, because I'm always terrified. Please don't let it get to me.
It's like either don't let it get to me, or let me be one of the first ones that only has to get 8. And it's just like, please pry this off. For those of you that don't know, and this doesn't actually happen everywhere in the country, when you're bowling a team tournament, in this area, we have something called a best ball, which they do before you even get started. So they take your lineup the way that it is. So you practice, and then before you actually start the tournament, you take your lineup as it is. You're doing just a regular 5-man, 4-man team, 4-person
or trios
team, or trios, or whatever else. And they have a few different formats that they can do with this. But they take the leadoff bowler, and they usually have to get 7 or 8 or something like that. Yep. And then the next bowler has to get 8, and the next bowler has to get 9, and then the anchor has to get a strike. And sometimes it goes back the other direction. Sometimes the anchor bowls until it's done or whatever. But every team puts like $10 in the pot. and whoever is the last person standing in the best ball, whoever ends up with a strike, and that's the highest. Just like the elimination thing with the All-Star, the Clash, and the whatever else, it works exactly the same way. Whoever has the highest count wins the pot for their team. And if you have a 32-lane, 40-lane center, and there's North Rock 48,
48. Yep.
The winning team gets $480 to split.
And that's an
between
easy payday.
however many members, and so it's nice to start off a tournament, win a best ball, and get $100. Everybody gets a cut from their $2 that they put in to begin with.
You want to see the most nerve-wracking time to get 8 or better?
It's the worst. It's absolutely there's nothing. Measles, chill.
You're the leadoff guy having to get 8 or better, and you're thinking, 8, that's easy, no problem. Yeah. You walk up there and just dump it.
Oh my God, Matt Turpin did that once in the city tournament. He was the leadoff bowler. Hey, I know. He needed 7, and he got up there, and it was the ditch by the arrows. That's what James said. I'd never been so nervous in my life as the best ball at the KCF. It's one of those things that doesn't make any sense, but it's so much fun because you never knew that one shot over $2 could be that big of a thing. But there's so much pressure on a best ball and so much fun. Once you get past that, then the actual tournament's fine. But you have to get out there. You have to do this stuff. The only way that you're going to learn how to handle the pressure, the transition, the whatever else is to get out there and do it. And bowling, unfortunately, I think it's like this in a lot of places, but bowling seems to be one of those things. It's like, well, you're not good enough. You don't belong here. What are you doing? What are you doing here? You're not good enough. Well, it's like, well, no, I'm not good enough yet. I don't have any idea if I'm good enough yet. I haven't done it yet. So there's only one way to find out. And, being good at the actually participating in something, and I'm just kind of accepting I'm better. See, I'm good enough to have fun on the lanes, but
bowlers are really bad about that too, though. Very judgmental on people that are coming in and trying and talking down on them instead of encouraging them, because people coming in, all that does is grows tournaments. Grow the tournaments, it grows the sport, and a lot of bowlers are bad about that. So, and
that's the funny thing is when people are talking about, handicap and handicap bowlers and whatever else, it's like, well, if you encourage them to practice and encourage them to get better, they will then have less handicap.
Yeah.
So if you actually help them out and help them improve, it may, they may take some money out of your pocket someday, but
you're not giving them 40 sticks a game, are you?
Yeah. And from something like Brad Miller's perspective, going on tour, it's like, well, obviously he didn't have success right away, even though he was good. He really good at a lot of local stuff, but even he doesn't win everything when he goes to the local tournaments around everybody else. And he said, when you go on tour, you can't look at, oh yeah, Belmo's better than I am, he should win. Well, it's like, well, maybe he doesn't win this week though.
Right.
In bowling or in golf or something else, it's, some of it's just consistent success, but if you consistently make cuts, but don't ever win anything, you're not going to be remembered as well as the guy that maybe they win 20 tournaments and miss literally every other. They either win the tournament or miss a cut. The guy with 20 titles is going to be the one that everybody looks at as a better bowler than maybe somebody that makes every single cut.
And the tour is weird like that though, because you could go your first year. Now some guys are different. They're just gifted enough. They can go out there and just be great their first year. But sometimes that tour life, it takes good 3 to 5 years just to get your feet wet out there. Because transition out there, especially on the right side of the lane, is a totally different animal.
Well, and that's something that Chris Prather said, is that he was close before he had his breakout year and started winning everything, and there's $100,000 on the line, he was going to win it. But before he went out that last year, he's like, well, I either have to make it this year or I have to do something else. If I might just not be good enough, and people are just to even imagine Chris Prather saying that, because he's always in the hunt. He's considered one of the best out there right now. He had to put in several years and was close to quitting before everything just clicked and everything came together. And so you can't go out there and bowl a couple tournaments. And I'm sure that every single bowler has gone out there and had tournament. If you watch the Flow Bowling documentary on Belmo, he got a commissioner's exemption for a couple of tournaments to come over and bowl. And he said he did awful in those tournaments. He said he did awful in the first one or awful in the first two, and then he got offered another one, and he came out and he was literally the last spot in the cut, and then he won the tournament.
They were majors, weren't they? I think.
I think they were regular tour stops because
Okay.
I think the first one he won was just a regular tour stop. But at the same time, if you go to something is like, well, I suck, I can't compete with these guys, I don't belong here. That's what that. And again, that would my thing is I haven't even gone to anything to even find out or to even improve because I would think, well, these guys are better than I am and whatever else. We just go into WASPO tournaments. It's like, okay, well, Brad Miller's here, Mitch Hoope, Packy Hanrahan, and then
Tom Hess.
Tom Hess, and Dylan Byrne, all the local, and then you get into all the local guys like Henniger and
Trevor Baumgartner.
Yeah, and Trevor Baumgartner and whatever else. When half the PBA tour isn't there, and then you still have all the good local guys, it's like, okay, well, there's that guy, then there's them, and then, okay, so there's 12 bowlers here that are definitely better than I am, so what does 13th pay?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you can't, when you're bowling out on tour, it's like, well,
they're all good.
They're all good. Maybe they're all better than I am, but maybe they won't be better than me this week.
Yep. That's the thing, too, that's always helped me is when walking into a center, especially a tournament, is confidence.
Yeah.
If you're walking there and you're doubting yourself when you walk in the doors, you're going to have a rough day. It's just confidence to walk in the door. Hey, we're going to have a good day. It's going to be a good day. And sometimes that can go a long ways.
Yeah.
Now, you still may go in there with confidence and bowl really bad, but but you got to keep yourself mentalize, when you walk in, like I said, just confidence. If you beat yourself up before you walk in the door, you're never going to succeed.
Yeah, and that's actually when we had the Thanksgiving tournament, and then we had did Brad win the points tournament or
Brad,
he won the
top 36.
He won the top 36. And what was interesting is he was actually outside of the number, and he bowled the Thanksgiving one. He got enough points to get into the number. But, he's out on tour and he wouldn't have had any trouble.
Snapped him off by a stick, by the way, on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is he really didn't bowl that well. And he's sitting there afterwards. And he's like, yeah, I probably lost about $1,000 a night. And I'm sitting there just choking on myself. But then he comes back and he wins the top 36 the next week.
Yeah.
And so it can change just
with a free entry.
Yeah. Yeah, just something can change just like that. And like I said, you can miss the cut one week and you can win the next, and then you have another bad week. But the thing is that it's especially in bowling and golf, is you got to keep doing it. You got to keep putting yourself there. And if you put yourself there often enough, and if you learn enough, and if you gain enough experience and enough knowledge and keep at it, that's where the relentless persistence comes from. If you keep going after something, eventually it's got to pay off, unless you're trying to be contrarian, or unless you're trying to, do something just because somebody said I couldn't do it. I would rather use my gifts and my blessings to actually accomplish something than continue to just fight against, something that just something that just doesn't really work out for you, or something that's not your speed or your lane, so to speak. And other people will say, well, that's easy for you to do because you're this. Well, it's like, well, it's not easy for, it's like, yeah, well, why would I fight against the grain? And why would I do something that makes no sense? Why would I not go my lane? If everybody went with their blessings or went and stayed, and I'm not saying to stay inside the box and necessarily be cookie cutter or whatever, but when somebody is really, really good, like the people on America's Got Talent, they may not be good at some other things, or they have the one little person on there that does his he was kind of doing an aerialist act, and maybe he's really good at it, and maybe he wouldn't have even done that if he wasn't the size he was and had the challenges he had. But because but he's taking his gifts and using that to be really ridiculously good at something. And that's also really inspiring to people who, I know Meastal.
Wax the table and it doesn't even go out of focus.
Yeah, I know. Well, because it's the Meastal.
Sorry.
Yeah. But if you find something that you're really good at, and you find something that you're really passionate about, and you go with your gifts or your talents or whatever else, and you put that all together, you can really achieve something great. And I think we talked about it last week, but how many really great players in sports didn't turn out to be great coaches, or how many great coaches weren't great players?
There's a lot of them.
I mean, and so you have to imagine that some of these players that are coming out and people, we should give them a coaching, or some of them did try to coach and it didn't really work out so well. Yeah. And they thought, well, just because you're a good player, you naturally be a good coach. Or, if somebody tries to coach in something, especially in bowling, it's like, well, gosh, you're not that great of a bowler. Chris Schlemmer is not that great of a bowler.
No.
But he's really good at making them. And so
some guys just have that coaching factor that they just, yeah.
Yeah. And if you, and that's something that is more my speed, because I've failed for so long and had so many problems for so long that I've had to learn how to, read ball reaction and lane play and all these other things to try to make up for my inabilities or inadequacies or failures in other areas. And so I'm much better as a coach than I am as a bowler, but it's still rough for some. Well, yeah, you haven't won any. What have you won? Or Brad and Kyle have gotten the same thing when they came up with their coaching membership and whatever else. Well, you guys haven't won anything. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. How good was Phil Jackson at basketball, or how good was?
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, exactly, because everybody remembers him as a coach. And some people are better coaches. That Rick Benoit is another example. I think he had some physical issues too, but he's widely regarded one of the best bowling coaches on the planet. If he goes to coach a national team, they start winning stuff.
Yeah.
He is such a great coach. And if he would have just sat there and let somebody say, well, you're not that great of a bowler, I'm definitely not going to listen to you. And sometimes that is true. And if I have somebody come into the pro shop and say, well, my 170 average teammate told me that my once a week 170 average teammate told me that you did it wrong. It's like, well, they don't work in a pro shop.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't succeed at something specific, but you still pay attention, you still focus, you still learn something, you might be good in a totally different direction. So
Joe's comment.
Yeah, they won more than most schmucks watching their YouTube channel. Yes, exactly. And so, if you know that you're good at something.
Phil Jackson was apparently a pretty good New York Knicks. So I didn't know
okay.
That, so.
Okay.
I learned something today. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. But along that same line, name me somebody else that was a really good player that didn't make a good coach, or somebody that was a really good coach that wasn't a very good player. I mean, you can think of, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I believe on the football side and the NFL, a lot of the head coaches, I could be wrong, but a lot of the head coaches weren't players.
Oh, probably not.
Or players and just weren't very good.
And I think at the same time, you have some guys like maybe a Jeff Van Gundy or somebody that, a Mark
Gretzky. That's a good, wasn't a good coach, great player.
Yeah, Tyronn Lue.
From Raytown, Missouri, Tyronn Lue is, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He went to the same high school as the Brad Miller.
Oh, okay, yeah. BFM. But anyway, I mean, just Andy Reid, our coach of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Won a Super Bowl, whatever else. Do you think I don't even know if he played. And that's how a lot of people get into coaching, is that they ride the bench, or they end up, those who those who can't teach is one of those things. Is some people that if they don't have the physical ability to compete in something, but they have a passion for it and they understand it and they get the concepts and they understand how the game works, they can be a really good coach. And it doesn't, being a good player and a good coach don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. And I actually asked Brad this at the Thanksgiving tournament, and because he said he went down and spent a week with, we talked about this last week, but he spent a week with Norm Duke and they were talking about different things. I'm like, well, how much of that stuff can you actually take from them? Because I'm sure that Norm has a bunch of good advice and he has a bunch of good experience and whatever else. It's like, how much can you actually take from them? And how much stuff is just bowler individual specific stuff that works for them, that they can't explain to somebody else, that won't translate to anybody else? How much of that stuff is Norm Duke specific stuff that is only going to work for Norm, and that's it? And he's like, it's a mixture, and it's hard to tell sometimes. He's like, he tried to explain some concept to me about, if you're trying to throw the ball 10 boards this way, then you push away 10 boards this way, and it kind of balances your swing and whatever else. And it's like, well,
I would never think that.
I would never think that. It makes no sense to me. It probably wouldn't work for me. But you have to think, how great would maybe a Pete Weber be as a coach? I'm sure he's got a bunch of good stories. I'm sure he's got a bunch of good, a lot of the bowlers out there too don't know anything about bowling balls or layouts or whatever else, and they intentionally keep it that way because as soon as you get too deep into the numbers and the details of something, sometimes it makes your brain start thinking in a different way and going a different way. And if all you know is that somebody hands me a bowling ball and I know what to do with it. As long as they know what kind of shape to give it to me in, I know what to do with it once they give me the right thing. Yeah. And so you need a player, and you need a coach, and you need all kinds of different people in all kinds of different scenarios and places. And just because you're not naturally good at something that you necessarily want to be good at, that doesn't mean you still can't be involved with it. You might just be involved in a different way than maybe you would like. And it frustrates me going to tournaments and, frying out because I know what to do. I can't physically do it. And it is somewhat embarrassing when you're just kind of looking like a clueless donk out there. But just because you don't have the physical ability to do something doesn't mean that you're not good at it or don't know what you're doing or can't put that to use somewhere else. So instead of beating your head against the wall and being frustrated and bitter about something, maybe go a different direction. And you're always going to have resistance. You're always going to have flack. You're always going to have something, no matter which direction you choose to go. There's always going to be somebody telling you you're not good enough or you're not this, you're not this. Well, yes, but I'm not that yet. So
I'm reading the comments here.
Yeah.
Angel and
yeah, Nick Saban is a good college coach and our pro, and that's actually another very fantastic. There's a lot of people like
Gretzky.
I feel like I'm a good coach for like the lower levels of the game. As far I'm not much of a mechanics coach. I'm a lane play, ball reaction,
these are really
for basic mechanics. But when you start talking about somebody like a better player that's having mechanical issues, I'm not going to be any help. Now, if they're having angle lane play issues, ball reaction stuff, there I can help. But good shot clock idea 1.5 hours later. Yeah, then actually the morning bolt's probably on too. I thought about this, but then I had another segue to go into. So anyway,
it's been fun.
I'm relentlessly persistent at not shutting my mouth. So
you know what we did not do today? Ball talk.
Yeah, exactly. Those are some of the rules.
Air 5.
Yep. No ball talk, stay on topic. I think that actually, I can't do both my loves here in Michigan. No bowling, no poker. Yeah, that really sucks. Yeah, you imagine coming in for league and your PSO and local pros, Chris Prather. It could have happened if he quit. Yes, exactly. But he stuck with it. He kept going. He knew that he was close. And at some point, you just have to cut ties and walk away. But he kept giving himself a shot. And can you imagine all the money, all the traveling, all that just to not really do so well? You got to think that starts weighing on. I mean, just going to a couple tournaments and thinking, well, I'm just not good enough. What am I doing here? I'm not good enough to bowl with these guys. He kept at it for 3 years because he was good enough and he saw light at the end of the tunnel. And he himself knew, no matter what anybody else is telling you, it's one thing to keep going at something because you just want to do it. They're thinking, well, you hear so many people, this is my passion. Singing is my passion and singing is my dream on American Idol or something like that. And they're terrible.
Yep.
It's like, maybe you can just enjoy music, or maybe you know good music when you hear it, but you can't sing a note. Find something to do with that. Maybe play an instrument.
Yeah.
If you can't sing, play an instrument. And that's the thing is, I'm never going to be a super competitive bowler, but there's other things that I can do and still be involved with it that are not as frustrating and, make you as bitter or pissy. So
I guess bowling can definitely do that.
Yeah.
They can definitely do that.
So, I think we'll probably go on ahead and cut it off, and I'll find an instruction manual for this webcam.
It looks great right now.
It looks fine right now. And we're moving all around back and forth and up and down, and it just decides to freak out when it wants to freak out.
No sudden movement.
Yeah. Or maybe it does need to be closer. Maybe we need to have more. The autofocus thing is when it can't tell what's in the foreground and what's in the background. So I think, like Malcolm said, if we
does that mean we're gonna have to put on makeup?
Probably. I mean, so anyway, thanks Malcolm for hanging out. Definitely thanks everybody for hanging out. Todd Ozaki was back here again at whatever o'clock it is.
Is that our Hawaii guy?
Hawaii, yeah.
Fantastic.
Oahu, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Because you are closer.
Listen to your wife.
I mean, this is the thing is I don't want to put my face any closer to the camera than I have to because people are going to have to.
I mean, you're getting all up close and personal.
Yeah, but you at least have the hat and the facial hair and whatever else that darkens the overall experience. Mine just makes everything look brighter.
There you go. I mean,
because my face pretty well glows.
That's without a week.
So, yeah.
Now you know.
These streams will last for 30 to 60 minutes. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't bet James on that. I'll take a James total pins bet whenever he comes to Kansas City for a tournament. I'll take that all day. But betting the under on how long a live stream is going to go will never go well. So, wow, your head is very round. Yeah.
I'm blessed. What can I say?
Yeah. So anyway, we'll probably cut it off for now, and I'll ramble at you later while he stares awkwardly into the camera, waiting to get a word in edgewise.
I'm good. I just appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It's definitely a lot of fun, and we appreciate everybody watching, everybody that's going to watch that didn't catch this live, for us to just ramble through stuff. But it's always entertaining. Hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully it's educational. But
I thought it was a great show today.
I mean, you have to get out there and do stuff, and you have to go your own direction. I'm one of those people that, again, sits and watches and waits for too long. And there's other people that get out there and they're way too far ahead of themselves. And there's got to be a balance there between, self-awareness is a really big one to begin with. And then identifying some specific goals. I was one of those people that was, if you always work hard, and do the right things, and stuff will pay off. Well, that's absolutely not the case a lot of the time. You do want to work hard, but if you don't have any direction, it's usually wasted. So, Yep.
Yeah, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and turn on your notification bells. Yeah,
so the next time the camera freaks out and we have to restart the stream like we have the first couple times. Yeah. Why would it not want to show that? Subscribe, notification bell, etc., etc. Yes.
Fantastic.
That'll definitely help you out. Like I said, next time this thing freaks out and we have to restart the stream, then you'll get a notification bell when we're back live again.
Are we back here next Friday? Are we doing the same? Or
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we bowl next Thursday. Yeah, we bowl next Thursday. We've had an off again, on again, off again, skipping weeks and whatever else. And so we didn't bowl last night. We bowl next week. But yeah, if you're down, I'll figure the camera out and
no problem.
Hopefully figure the lighting out. I can't do anything about my face.
I've got some free Fridays.
That's a lifelong.
I'll continue to hang as long as I can. So
yeah, and this might even be something to transition into the other channel that I'm going to try to get up and working.
Sweet.
Try to do all kinds of things.
Well, it's been fun.
Yep. All right. Thanks a bunch for everybody hanging out. I'm out of coffee and my throat's getting dry. Happens when you don't shut up for an hour and a half.
The rambling man.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks Jonathan, and we'll have some other interesting things. Don't forget the live stream next Saturday night. We will have another coffee stream next Friday morning, but next Saturday night is the big one where James and I are going to recap the this year and equipment, bowling balls, and whatever else, and do the fundraiser and giveaway for Positive Tails Dog Rescue in Kansas City. So. They mentioned live bowling. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're actually trying to fit the live streams in between several, because we bowl league next Thursday, we bowl league next Friday, we bowl Saturday morning, and then we bowl Sunday morning, and we're fitting a couple streams in there too. So it's going to be a busy weekend. Sorry, Clint.
Yeah. That will be a stupid busy weekend.
Yes, and we are for the fundraising thing, we will draw at 9:00 that night. You don't have to be present to win, and all the details are in the description of that live stream. The live stream is already set up. So if you go to the main page of my channel, you go to that. The description has all the information. It has where to send the money, how to send the money. Do not send it to YouTube. YouTube takes a percentage of anything donated on here. And so we want all the money to go to the rescue. And it's $10 per $10 donation gets you one entry. You can send as much as you want to send, and you'll get that many entries. We'll draw for the prizes and the signed pins from Brad Miller and Tom Hess. And we got some Panda Pack patches and some old vintage bowling cards and a couple of bowling balls. Maybe some bowling bags. We're still figuring out the prizes and whatever, but it's for a good cause and it helps people out. And yeah, we've been leaving for 10 minutes. We've been leaving for 10 minutes now. This is just what normally happens, but all the information, all the links for the donations are in there. We're already taking them. We've already got several $100s too. We've almost already unlocked our first giveaway or prize. So you can do that at any time. Just make sure to follow the directions in the description. Read. There was something funny that I saw the other day that somebody was selling a picture of a PS5 on eBay.
I did see this.
You saw, yeah. I think most people have seen this. He was selling a picture, and in the description,
it says it is a picture.
Yeah, it says it's a picture. In the title of the thing, it says "picture only," and it had the stars around it. And then you go into the description and said, "You are buying a photo, only a photo. You're not buying the actual system. If you want an actual system, do not buy this. This listing is for a photo only." And he sold a bunch of them for $500. He's like, "Do not ask for a refund, whatever else." It was all in plain English, and nobody read it. They just clicked on it, they bought it, they went through, and so they got a picture of a PS5 for $500.
Yeah.
Anyway,
keepsake.
All right, I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week, but I'll think up some other sappy thing so that we can complain about life and our misfortunes.
Yeah, sounds great.
Not looking like AJ Johnson,
but we will have coffee.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Yep.
And a great week.
Yep. We'll see you later.